Hello, everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. We're going to give everyone a few seconds to get in the space and get situated and get ready for this incredible presentation. It's nice to see you. Hi, everybody. Happy December 3rd, believe it or not. Holy cow. All right. Participant room has filled up nicely. A couple more in the waiting room, so we'll let them in as well, and we'll get this party started. All right, everybody, welcome to Webinar Wednesday. I asked my friends, so happy to have you here. I'm Danielle Carter, and today we are pulling back the curtain on something that makes even seasoned HR folks break a sweat, the Regional Office of Education audit. No offense to any regional office staff that may or may not be on this webinar. It's just something we take very seriously. We've assembled a dynamic duo of all-star panelists, HR leaders who've been through it, survived it, and now want to help you get ready with confidence. You'll get practical tips, common pitfalls, and checklists you'll actually want to keep handy. Few housekeeping items. You were muted upon entry. Please keep your mics muted. We never know what's going to pop in the HR offices. The chat is open, so drop your questions. We'll get them via the Q&A. Scott will kind of interject the questions if it makes sense during the presentation. Otherwise, we'll go through all of those at the end. Your cameras are always encouraged to remain on. We love to see your smiling faces, your head nods, rather than looking at your names on a blank screen. So without further ado, please help me welcome today's presenters, Gabe Capozzo and Nina Uab. Let's get into it.
What is up, everybody? Hello. My name is Gabe Capozzo. I am humbly with Nina Yaub, and we are super excited to kind of share with you our experience with regard to the regional office audit that we've titled Unveiled. So gearing up for our compliance success, I do believe we will have some added values for you. There's some documents you'll be able to take away from at the end. But I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time. I'm a huge fan of Webinar Wednesday, and I am grateful for having the opportunity to be on.
I ditto everything Gabe just said. Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Uab. I'm with Glenbrook High School District 225. We're excited to present on this topic yet again. We hear other districts are going through the audit recently, or if not, they are tentatively scheduled for it. So we are excited to share our experiences with you. Typically, we have District 203 presenting with us. And so we kept Abby and Dr. Meredith's pictures on our slide because we don't want to forget about them. It takes team effort to really put something amazing like this together. And Gabe, if you want to introduce yourself.
Gabe Capozzo, I'm the Director of Human Resources for Beach Park District 3. We're up in the northeast corner of the state. I live in Wisconsin, and I'm about 20 minutes north of our district. So we're tucked away between Waukegan, Zion, and Gurnee. I've been in this position this is my third year, and I was so fortunate to walk into the audit and had no idea what to expect. And that's kind of the inception of how the four of us had come together to see what could we share from our experiences. So that's me.
Awesome. So a quick overview on our presentation today. We are going to talk about what our experiences were when we went through the ROE audit. We always want to start off with the Regional Office of Education, really serves as a liaison between us and the state. I say that because I started in 2018, and shortly after my start, we were audited, and I was very nervous and scared because I came from a healthcare background and we went through IDPH audits. They're very different. The ROE is a wonderful, wonderful liaison and resource that helps us get through it. So really the goal of our presentation today is talking about how we learn from the ROE to be in compliance and how our experiences can really trickle down to improving our own internal processes and procedures. So this was me. It's this Mike he's usually moving in this GIF, but I was scrambling when I got noticed that we were getting audited because my director was actually on a leave of absence and I was new, and we had a little bit of turnover, so the support was not as present as I had hoped to. What I later learned is I should have just remained calm. So if you are told that your audit is coming up, stay calm. The ROE will help you prepare for it actually so that you can take what you need to prepare for their arrival. And again, as I mentioned in the previous slide, is take this as an opportunity to learn. If you have questions, park them and ask them, and they will help you throughout the entire experience. And again, look at it as an opportunity, and nobody is getting arrested during this audit. So Gabe, if you want to talk a little bit about how we kind of get our game plan together.
Yeah, so prepping for the audit, and you're going to see how our invitation looked, and you'll have a link. So these links should all be accessible for you. I would like to preface just the rest of the webinar. Please jump in and get involved and engage. What I think Nina and I have learned over the couple of presentations that we've done here is that everyone in the audience has had kind of a different experience. So we know that there are some of you who may have not gone through an audit. We also know there's a group of you that have gone through an audit, and your audit was different. Your experience was different. And I feel like through those experiences, when we've been in the company of other people that have been through the audit, they're very organic, and they're all because of the variance. Everyone has something valuable to contribute. So we'll be doing the talking, but I would also encourage you to jump into the chat, ask the questions, and engage with us if you feel like, one, you can add value, or two, you need some clarity, and we'll give you the best answers that we can get. So while we're going to be focusing heavily on the 200 component of the HR personnel audit, what I came to realize when I first started the audit, where I thought it was all just about HR, it was just about us. It's not. It's about all the departments. And we'll see that in the next slide. But prepping for the ROE compliance audit, you're going to get your team together, and you got to figure out who's going to be on your team. I work in a small district. We have 4 elementaries and a middle school, and every department has a director. So we had our student services, our buildings and grounds, our CSBO, the superintendent, in dual language. So everyone got an assignment, and yours is probably going to look a little bit different. And if it is, that's fine. And what you'll do is you'll look through your fact sheet, and you're going to get a presentation for your audit that you can go through to see what's coming, what you're going to need to do, and how much information you're going to need to gather. You'll disseminate those departments, and you're going to come up with your plan. So we had some prep meetings littered in there where we all disseminated everyone's duties in the personnel audit. Landed in my department. I'm a department of 2. There's myself, and we have a benefits coordinator. So the 2 of us worked through the personnel side of this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, similar to Gabe, our superintendent kind of oversees the audit. So he distributes all of the probes, if you will, to the appropriate departments and leadership. So we operate almost similar to you over here at North Cook.
These are the 5 departments for the entire audit. We're going to focus on the 200s. I would assume most of all of you are going to focus on the 200s. What's come up actually prior to us just jumping into the webinar, and Nina and I were talking yesterday, is that we learned this year that ISB has yet to finalize and release the compliance requirements. While some invitations have gone out, some of them have been delayed, some of them have been rescheduled, and there's been some ambiguity as to when the audit's actually going to take place. We think that maybe this is due to the large number of new mandates that have been added in last year's legislative session. As a result, the list of required documents and artifacts to demonstrate compliance may be delayed. And due to that, in addition, what we share with you may not fully align to what is coming maybe in the 26 year. But I can tell you that as far as our audit was concerned, some of the things that they outlined, we were told there's going to be a number of files that had to be allocated for each item that was under review from 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 500s. And some of those things included mandated units of study, school trainings, safety drill reports, temporary permanent student files, handbooks, board policy, website requirements, some financial reports, and if you're in a high school, course descriptions. Those were listed on what we needed to have. We don't have a high school. We're not a unit district. We're an elementary district. But as a new person to the audit, these are things that you already have. And going back to what Nina had shared with you at the beginning of the webinar, your relationship with your regional office really is that, hey, we want to make sure you're compliant, and we're here to help you ensure your compliance. It's really not a gotcha. I really actually enjoyed the experience. I mean, there's footwork. You're going to have to do work, but you really do get to learn and grow. So if there's anyone new on here without that hasn't gone through an audit, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to get to know compliance, your policies, the things you need to have in order. And I think they're fantastic for me, the onboarding process of the documentation we needed from a personnel standpoint, not just for new hiring people, but are we compliant throughout? So what do you expect to have at the audit? The four of us had gotten together and we put together what we were invited to gather in our instruction sheets. You should have access to these. I know you definitely have the access to Lake. We went through our links, but this will give you an idea of the compliance presentation. We need 45 days from the audit notice. That was our directive, and then our instruction sheet. And the instruction sheet just goes through all the bullets that are on this slide right here. These are the things that we needed to actually aggregate and comply with, so to go out, hunt down, make sure we were ready for the audit and put together. Nina, I don't know if you want to jump in and share any
Yeah,
differences.
so the last time we received it, or I should say, the last time we received this list was back around, I want to say 2020. We're actually due for an audit this year that, as Gabe mentioned earlier, has been delayed. We were anticipated to have it in December, but it's pushed back to tentatively March. The sheet looks exactly the same as we received it last time, so nothing really has changed. We are anticipating Fate's Law, and our ROE office told us, just a hint, we will be focusing more heavily on endorsements this time. So which was interesting because I thought I was going to hear more Fate's Law. But either way, what's nice is they give you instructions on how to populate your list. They ask for normally the new hires since the last time that they've done the audit. And they also ask for new assignment changes. So if you had a paraprofessional or IA, if you will, move to a teacher role, they want to see that. Changes in capacity, and they want course descriptions too. So putting science teacher doesn't suffice. They want to see biology teacher, chemistry teacher. So for us, we had to work with our technology department to, run that course list from our Power School system. That's something that HR typically does not manage, so it might be different in your districts. But nothing has changed with the sheet itself. What's nice is they give you time. So we received it several weeks in advance, maybe even a couple of months. I apologize. I'm losing track of the days. But it gives you time to populate your list and really look at your files carefully. And I think once they review it, then they will reach out when they're ready for the audit on the ones that they will specifically be looking at. So maintaining the sheet is pretty feasible.
So Nina, as you're talking about documents and making sure you have everything ready, there was a question in the chat. If you were missing a physical form or a signature on an I-9 for an employee who is inactive, what would you do? Do you have any advice on how to handle that?
That's a great question. So in my experience in both healthcare and education, we actually have been ICE audited at my previous employer, which was in healthcare. So what they've given us instructions on how to maintain I-9 files. So I don't have those memorized, but if you go on the website, there are instructions on how you should be amending your I-9 files. So if there's a missing signature, if that was maybe somebody who was before your time, because that's happened with us, we've had turnover, we would sign it, initial it, and we would have a memo or a post-it attached to it explaining the amendment. So we always say with every change you do, just have a note, a supporting document, just in case questions come up so that you're not caught off guard and they have the information readily available. This has happened during our last audit. I actually came in new. I replaced somebody before me who during her departure didn't get through all of her files. And that was okay. I amended them myself. I had a supporting document and there were no questions asked.
Great, thank you so much. And there was one additional question as you were talking for Gabe or Nina. Do you have to include the certified staff that have terminated on the new hire list that you referenced?
No, I did ask that question to our ROE office. As far as North Cook, they only want active.
I concur.
All right, and Gabe, you're in Lake, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Was not required of us. Yeah.
And then for assignment changes, you don't have to provide as many documents like policies, everything you see listed here. They don't need those for assignment changes. They only need those for new hires. So what we recommend is the ROE is giving you the opportunity to review, these files on time, which is lovely. That's not the case in, other industries. So some of the things that we catch beforehand are things like maybe there's a mismatched name in ISB. That happens often when there's a name change and they go through the process within your district, but not necessarily with the Illinois State Board of Education. There is a form that they need to fill out to initiate the name change for their Ellis accounts. So make sure you're checking both systems, not necessarily just your HRIS system, but also in their Ellis accounts. We did not know this during the last audit. They actually informed us that there were a few mismatches before they even came for the audit, which was nice. It gave us an opportunity to work with the employee and have them go through the process. But that also gave us an opportunity to update some of our internal processes. So when we receive feedback from the ROE, such as mismatched names, what we do is we document it, we convert it into a process. So now the employee knows what to do when there's a name change, and we've created a guidebook with all of our processes. So again, going back to the start is don't take it as, oh no, I made a mistake or we're missing something. Correct it, document it, and use it as an opportunity to revamp your processes. Other things were incorrect IEINs. For us, we had just transitioned from the old Skyward to the new Skyward. So I think there was just a lot of change happening there where we were manually putting in people's IEINs into the new system and some were incorrect when we pasted them over to the sheet from the previous slide. So again, they're very gracious in letting you know this person does not pop up in Ellis. Do you think that it's the wrong IEIN? You would go in and correct it. What's lovely is now we have ChatGPT. So without dumping any sensitive information, you can pull formulas to do a VLOOKUP based on reports you may run in ISB versus your HRIS system. So use the tools that you have to help you with this. And then other things which were easily missed were incorrect region registration. So when we hired somebody new, sometimes when you're a rush and you have a large volume of new hires, you may check that they have a valid licensure, but you may miss to see if that licensure is registered in the region in which they are being hired for. The ROE does check region registration, so ensure that while you're auditing the names and their Ellis accounts, look and make sure that they're registered to your region as well. Gabe, anything you want to add on that?
We had some endorsement issues, and I think I'll talk about that maybe as we get to the end. But no, those are fantastic job. That was great information.
Yeah, of course. So transitioning over to the day of the audit is you want to just make sure that it actually skipped slides. On the day of the audit, you just want to make sure that your files are prepared. So we've presented this topic a few times before, as we mentioned, and we've learned districts doing it differently. During the last audit, we were kind of blended between paper files and electronic files because we had this mission to go digital, and the first attempt wasn't so pretty for us. So what we did is we just came together as a team. We decided that we were going to stick to paper because that's what we were most comfortable with at the time, but we filed everything in order. So if the sheet asks for example, DCFS, physical, I-9, we put them in that order for them so that every file they open, they would have all those documents in the same sequence. And then we would color code things. So maybe a file had green to suggest that it was a assignment change. Maybe yellow to indicate that, they were new, things like that. So organize your files. They don't have rules provided to you on how to do this. This is really up to you. You just want to communicate it to them when they arrive. We had a cheat sheet for them too, so that they understand what they're looking at. And then this time we are actually digital. So we did the same thing. We reviewed our digital files, made sure everything was in order. And you want to make sure you set up their access into whether it's yellow folder, we use Skyward, make sure they have login, make sure those work before they arrive. And then most importantly, because we've heard other districts do this, is don't forget to take away their access once the audit is complete.
Yeah, we did paper too. And just like Nina had said, the couple slides prior to that, the order is exactly the order that we kept our files in. And the one thing we did is we went through all the files manually. We're not digital. We had just actually transitioned from stone tablets. So I don't know if anyone is still chiseling away your personnel files. We're right there with you, and you're going to really enjoy the paper part of that. But as I digress, the red folder was great. We kept it in order, and it was in the front of all our personnel files. I think in our presentations, we've heard people ask questions like how many personnel were there. I just went through mine just to kind of review before the presentation, and we had 96 certified teachers in our audit. I feel like, Nina, and you can confirm this, I feel like some of the districts, like we got 4 or 6 or 9 or 12, because they do give you a heads up. The regional office will give you a heads up, like we're going to look for this number of files within here, but we had 96 certified teachers, which I didn't know if that was a lot or not. And it seems like the more we talk with people, that might have been a higher number than average.
Definitely a higher number than ours. I think ours was closer to like maybe 30 or 40, which we were like, oh man, we looked at every single 100 file and we were excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they came in, that red folder was there and everything was in exactly the same order as the spreadsheet that they're going to give you. I know one of the things that Pam Cooper, who's just absolutely amazing, if she's listening, thank you so much, Pam, for everything that you do. I know that I hit you up probably more than I should just for guidance with all kinds of questions. But if you're in Lake County, man, she's killing it. The reality, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We can come back to it if you're
Yeah.
ready.
All right. But the one thing she had shared, thank you. The one thing that she had shared with me was when you get your spreadsheet, don't change a thing on your spreadsheet from the regional office. Don't touch it. And it was really bothering me that some of the cells in the spreadsheet didn't align. So the words were vertical or they were crunched together because the spacing was a little bit different for all of them. And the entire audit, I didn't touch those. And then later on, I found out that it was like, well, you could have made the actual articulation, the words, the information, you could have made it fit the cell. It's you just said don't touch it. So this entire 50 or 60 days that we were working through this. I'll just throw it out there. You can actually set the cell lengths. I didn't get in trouble for that. Faith's Law, the day of the audit. So we're on the next slide. Did you have anything else to add, Nina?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Thank everybody for your patience while I tried to find where I was at in my head there. Faith's Law. So this was really big. We were 24, 25. Faith's Law had just rolled out, and there was a lot of anxiety kind of around what's this going to look like? And what do we need to do for Faith's Law? And we were kind of, it seemed like a lot of people were learning together, including the Regional Office of Ed during the audit. And feel free to jump in the chat to ask questions, and we'll get to them for sure. But the staff has to complete and submit the required authorization forms. I've linked them both in here, so you have access to them. These are the 2 forms that are going to be needed. And one thing that I've learned, we use Verifint, and I think Verifint's been great. And I know that there are some other platforms out there that people use. And I've also received emails where there's many districts that are still filling them out by hand and sending them to me, for which I'm refilling those out and then sending them back. So whatever platform you use, I just want to share my experience with Verifint, and they've been really good. What I found is that the authorization for release form in Verifint, if you're using Verifint, it times out. So after 90 days, if you don't get a response back, it's there, but it's gone, and it has a record. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, about how many attempts you've actually made to reach out to these districts and what kind of mediums you've used to do so. But what I've been speaking with Verifint about is I can't access the actual form. So we have a new employee that comes in, we do the onboarding process, they complete the authorization for release, the sexual misconduct form. And if it's just in Verifint, there's the section 1 and there's the section 2 for the district and who they are, and then they have their release. And then they have the information for which you're sending it to have them get back to you. If you don't have a hard copy of that, you're either repeating the process with the new employee to go back out there and get it to make sure you're compliant, you have it in their file. And what I do during onboarding is I just have the second sheet there with them filling out the top form. And if I don't get a response back from a district, I will actually reach out personally and try to get that documentation to them. Now, over the last year and a half, I will tell you that I think this is becoming second nature for our districts in the HR department. I get way more responses back in completed forms than I have ever, and I continue to see that trajectory rising. So that's fantastic as we all kind of get used to this is the new norm. But it's a food for thought. You may want to actually get a hard copy of the release form if you're in a situation where I've been in, where it timed out, and now you're kind of restarting the process in order to get it out there and have a record of it. So I checked in with Faith's Law at ISB. They do require, obviously, that both forms are in the staff file as of the 20th of July 23, which we all do know now. But at the time, it wasn't enough to just have the Verifint form. The actual forms had to actually be in there. I know that that's changed. So now we just print those forms out. They're completed and I have them in the file. There was a conversation about the number of documented attempts, and I've heard different stories from different people. This is my experience, and Nina, maybe you can jump in here too, or anyone else on the call. If you're using a third-party service like Verifint to do the HR disclosures, make sure one you do what I was telling you, as far as if they time out, you got it lost, you don't have the hard copy, you're starting over. But you can pull those EV reports right off of Verifin, which has been great. And as long as you're ringing the bell, I personally ring the bell every Monday. It's in my calendar. And if you don't know what ringing the bell is, when you've got these forms sitting out there for the previous employer district to verify and send back to you, those forms are going to time out. But you have this unique opportunity in Verifin to ring the bell, which is send them your pre-populated invitation to please complete this form, and maybe include some legal language like you're required to do this. And I get success with the bell. Sometimes it doesn't hit the first, I've missed my own Verifence and I've had people reach out to me, right? So I get it. But then the report in Verifin is great because it will give you a line of how many times you've actually resent that out to people. At the time, though, because it was new, the ROE was saying, well, what else did you do? And Verifin is a nice tool. And I don't know how we've evolved because I have been audited recently, and I'm sure those of you going into an audit will be able to add value to this. But the conversation really revolved around like, did you call them? Did you email them? Did you fax them? And it just seemed like a really heavy lift. In the end, we hadn't done all of those, so we certainly weren't faxing anyone. But we were compliant. We did have the records. We were going through the process, and all the Verifin forms that were in there with the bell rings and the documentation that we had done that, it worked. The other form you're going to need, if you haven't needed it yet, is you have to have a signed statement from an employee confirming that they didn't work with children in the past. I just linked this form for you if, in fact, you want to use it. I'm not confident a year and a half later, the language, it's pretty good language, not because it's my form. I'm confident I probably aggregated that from someplace else, and it may have very well been on ISB's website. But the disclosure form is great. And in the past, Nina and I presented people to ask if we could share that. It's in here now for you. Some version of this that states they haven't worked with children is going to be important to have.
Awesome. If I can give one more tip on number 2, proof of attempts. So for us, Verifint is new. We've been using it for a little over a year now. So when Fates Law first was implemented, we all, there's a team of 5 here. We each have our own employee group. And so the way we would track things were on a Google worksheet. It would just be, this is who we sent it to, attempt 1, check, attempt 2, check. But the actual forms weren't in there. They were living in our emails because we were sending it out from our own personal emails. If you're not on Verifint, I recommend that upload your form with the supporting language that you made the attempt into your filing system, because now that we're preparing for an audit, we've had some turnover here and we find ourselves not being able to locate their attempts. So we've had to ask tech for access to their emails to pull the emails showing that they did attempt and emailed it out. So that's an old issue for us because now we're in Verifint, everything is centralized in one space. But if you are still doing things differently outside of Verifint, just make sure you have a good method in getting a hold of those documents.
We just covered it. The tip part, I just included them in my in the conversation we just had with regard to making sure you just have the documents. It may benefit you if you haven't experienced it to have the second sign sheet for the release in case you time out and you can't get it. I will tell you that 1, I don't work for Verifint. 2, I have talked with them many times about just provide us access to that form so I can just print it out and send it. They're on it. They get it. They're working through it. And then additions, the student teachers. So student teachers are not subject to the employment history review. I put the link in here from the language based on ISB's fact sheet. Prospective new hires. So if the report came back with yes, in a circumstance, the school district should be reporting these alleged misconducts pursuant to Illinois School Code. So keep that in mind. And here's the email that you could send that to. And then contractors, we don't hire for, we outsource our busing, and we do have contractors and contractual workers here, the companies that we use. Everybody's, it seems to be everyone's compliant now, but it's not our job to work to ensure that they have We make sure they have it, I guess, is a way to articulate that, but we don't facilitate the acquisition of their, it's the contractor's job to make sure.
You will hear this handled differently across the district. There was some confusion last time because the district said, oh, well, we do faith law on our student teachers. And someone said, well, is that a requirement? It's not a requirement, but districts could set up their own internal rules on how to do this. So at our district, we do require it for all of the non-paid groups, such as student teachers, our outsourced agencies. That's just a written process that we have internally, but that is, again, up to the district itself.
Thank you for that. The audit probe, this is just one of the questions that's going to be, you'll find in your audit. This number may have actually changed in your audit documentation and the probes that they put in there, but this outlines the FACE law's request and documentation that you should be having in your files. The bottom piece here, the question was really what's the number of temps and what's the right way to do it? And it just says, the statute doesn't actually specify the requirements for the recommend the employer to document the number of ways and the ways that we should be doing it. And that very well could have boiled down to why we passed that portion of FACE law. We had many documented attempts. It wasn't through Verifant, the phone call, the email, the fax, and the contacts, but those are obviously options that you could use just to do your due diligence in order to track these down. So how did things result for Beach Park? We were compliant. The way I guess I could step that back. You're going to find things that you're out of compliance on. I'm not confident. I've talked with anyone who just, great job. Everything's perfect. And that's fine. That's very healthy, actually. And that really helped our internal process and our growth here as a district. A couple of things with short-term approvals, and I talked about this earlier, was the endorsement piece. Short-term approvals. They're new to me because I haven't been in this position. I've been in the district for 19 years. I've been an administrator for 8 of those prior to this position. It's just something that was never on my radar. And I'm also the first director of human resource in the district, so I'm not confident we were really shopping those. We clearly the district had found a way to navigate to get short-term approvals, but the audit really helped us put our eyes back on that process, make sure that we were compliant with regarding one, the way when they time out, two, communicating with the employee, but more importantly, you learn a lot about short-term approvals. If you're in an audit, how do you get them? How do you retain them? How do you convert them to full-time certified teachers? So we were hit a couple on the short-term approvals, and then temporary bilingual endorsements. We've just recently rolled out a dual language program. It's in our 5th year now, which is great. The interesting part of that was that we were hiring dual language teachers on a temporary bilingual endorsement, and they weren't taking the initiative to go and ensure that they took the classes in order to convert their temporary to a permanent. And during the audit was the exact time frame where those were expiring. So it resulted in some involuntary transfers in some cases. So keep your eye on your short terms and your temporary bilingual endorsements. And one of our biggest lessons is our superintendent did a really fantastic job of providing additional resources in our district by adding math and reading interventionists in each building. It's just something that really has helped and been and had quite a profound impact on our tier two kids, our bubble kids, in our MTSS process here. What we learned in the audit, though, was we were classifying them in our audit as reading interventionists and math interventionists, and we were told that we could not have these reading interventionists, which two things, they were all certified teachers that were elementary, especially in our elementary buildings, teaching, reading, and reinforcing at a tier 2 level, which we just assumed was going to be okay. So we classify them as reading intervention. And the second piece there is that why couldn't you do that? And what do we do here? Because the consequence for that is now we just assigned 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 reading and math interventionists, the total number being divided between reading and math. And now we're going to be in a situation where we have to involuntarily transfer these teachers back to positions that may not be available in an immediate manner, not like wait till the end of the year. It's like as of tomorrow, you have a situation where you need to put these reading interventionists somewhere because they're not certified reading specialists. So we went back and forth with the regional office, and we were looking for some grace on how we could navigate this. And so while you need to be endorsed at the grade level, served an interventionist does not necessarily need the reading endorsement. because the intervention was math and reading. And in different buildings, I should preface that they divided it up. Some buildings were like K2 math and reading interventionists. Other buildings were like 3, 5, they're going to just do reading or they're just going to do math. And that's kind of how it was spread out. It was vague and there wasn't whatever the principal wanted, however they wanted to utilize those resources, they were going to be able to structure it how they wanted. So I added some language here with regard to assignment of reading teachers and reading specialists. And after working with the regional office, with some grace and some guidance, we removed the reading piece from the title and we just titled all of our interventionists as interventionists, and we did not assign them to math or reading. And we were able to wiggle our way through the compliance piece. So I would just be mindful of that. It was a fear factor during the audit because we had done this work, obviously, with the Board of Ed in order to get all these FTEs and add and put the cell together to do what's best for our kids. And we quickly found out that, oh my gosh, like this is something we're going to have to reverse on. So no individual can be assigned to teach reading other than a reading other than reading as part of their general education classroom instruction. And that was the intent. These was really the reinforcement of what was happening in the classroom. This wasn't necessarily tier 3 support or special education. It was really just adding additional supports for our teachers. So I want to point that out. Any questions on that or comments by any chance, Scott?
No questions in the chat as of yet.
Okay. Nina, you want to add anything on that?
No.
Okay.
Awesome. So continuing with tips and tricks for the audit, just to ensure you're all successful in your audits, is once again, create a Google folder and organize all the probes that you receive. So we received it earlier this year, even though it's tentative, we've already started to organize our Google folder. That way everybody involved in the audit, as Gabe kind of alluded to earlier in the presentation, knows what they're responsible for. And sometimes somebody could be out, people get sick, it happens. That way, if there's a backup, they have everything available at hand in the centralized place. Again, if you're doing personnel files in an electronic format, make sure you have access set up for them ahead of time. We have learned from other districts through Q&As that sometimes there's a delay because the login is not working. So make sure you take care of the logistics prior to their arrival. And then make sure you do, I think, Gabe, you wanted to give a shout out here, so I'm going to leave this bullet to you.
I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Dale Fisher. This is for you, Dr. Dale. The 5-year check for the sex offender checklist. I did not know anything about this, given being new to the position. And Dr. Fisher has created this video, which is fantastic. Now, we all know that we've probably seen over the last few months that the state for murder sex offender has changed the outline, the format of what the website looks like. I'm going to assume that these directions are probably spot on still. I do believe Dr. Dale Fisher is on the call with us, and you're welcome to jump in there. But this is a great video. It is a lot of work to do that. I was totally lost and didn't know what to do. And then I watched this video and it was fantastic. You're going to learn how to concatenate. So you're going to learn some language if you don't know what that is. And you're also going to do some data digs and how to integrate that with, I think Skyward was what Dr. Fisher had used. But that's a really great resource.
So Gabe, I do intend on creating a new video in the probably over winter break that will update all of the new look to the website so people aren't confused when they're looking at it. So consider it done.
That's awesome. I did not mean to add anything to your plate, but that video is a game changer if you're not using it and you're trying to aggregate this information on your own.
We used it recently. It works amazing. So if you haven't tried it, you should try it. Okay.
Cool. Some questions for the audit. The spreadsheet entered the hire date was one thing we had. The date means the date that they were hired, not their start date. We ran into license issues, so I add some links here because I was learning kind of as you go how to apply for short-term approvals, and then the Illinois licensure testing system. I needed to share that with some of our employees, and it's just good background knowledge to have. And if you got some links, go ahead and drop those into your favorites or your starred tabs. BP3 had a running document for the regional office of outstanding issues. So what we found was the regional office was really great when you get dinged and you get the red list. They're going to outline what you need to do, and in a very simple format. I took all those problems, all those issues that needed to be resolved. We'll articulate it that way, and put them in a Google form. So there was no regional office was checking in on that, and they were sending me some communications like done, 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 done. Still, this is still outstanding, and then that was done. So I thought that was really great. And if you're in licensing issue, these rush requests for the regional office played a really vital role for me in expediting staff completing their licensure. So if you're new to the game, look at that short-term approval process and then these rush requests because they're vital.
To wrap things up, feedback. We always love and enjoy feedback. That's really how we've grown to expand on this presentation and become experts, if you will, with the audit. Meredith is not here from District 203, but the last time we presented, she did ask that if you have feedback, feel free to reach out, give your thoughts, share your thoughts, because their county's regional superintendents are planning to work with the State's Association of Regional Superintendents. So it sounds like there's some exchange of information and feedback going on there. So if you learn anything or if you have thoughts, please reach out to Meredith. She would be happy to, receive it. That really wraps up our presentation. Thank you again for having us. It's an exciting topic. We know that we're going to continue to learn about it as other districts go through it. We will be going through it this school year. So if you have questions, our contact information is on the screen. Feel free to reach out to any one of us.
Wonderful, Nina, Gabe, thank you so much. Meredith, Abby, thank you for your work to make this presentation just so awesome. Scott, I didn't see any other questions in the chat unless I've missed something. Just some shout outs to Dr. Dale per usual. Lindsay, thanks for throwing that video in the chat for everyone to view. So without further ado, again, thank you to our presenters. You are incredible and awesome. Thank you for being so vulnerable about what you found out during the audit. And for giving some really useful tips and tricks to all of us who will soon go through it. Just a few things, like 6, before you leave. It's not too late to join an admin academy next Thursday. I don't know, I'm a little biased, but it's me and Dale, so sign up. It's on investigations. We gave you kind of a flavor for the admin academy when we did our webinar 2 weeks ago, last week. I don't know, the time's blurring. But we still have open slots. So if you're interested in joining us next Thursday for a Zoom admin academy, please do. Come if you don't even need admin academy credit. It's just good learning. We have some fun. Nominate a colleague for our ASPA recognitions. Nominations close Friday. So please get in there. There's so many incredible people across the state. Take a few minutes, tell the team why they're incredible, and get those nominations submitted as soon as you can. Don't forget to register for IASPA conference. Already have 200 people signed up, so we're hoping to sell out. So don't delay, sign up when you can. Remember, we have those really useful brand new Friday user group sessions, FMLA, EvaluWise, Frontline, and Red Rover. So that's going to be a cool new thing that we're trying out at the tail end of conference. And as always, if you have an idea for a webinar Wednesday, call one of us, email one of us. If you don't want to do one alone, we will do one with you. So don't be bashful. We'd love to hear the incredible things you have going on in your district. Other than that, Scott, anything to add?
Oh, all good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you. And again, Nina, Gabe, thank you. It was
Thank you so
awesome.
much.